The TLS series library has multiple power supplies within it. There is a handler power supply, which supplies powers to the robotics of the library, and then tape drive power supplies, which supply power to the tape drives. Now, depending on the size and model of your library, you may have multiple handler power supplies and multiple tape drive power supplies. In this module, we will instruct you on how to remove the handler power supply from a TLS series library. The first thing you want to do when removing the power supplies is you want to power off the library and disconnect the power cord. After the power cord has been removed, you want to go ahead and remove the top cover of the library. There's 3 screws that hold the top cover down in the back of the library. You want to go ahead and remove all 3 screws. After removing the 3 screws on the back of the library, you want to go ahead and open the front door and remove the 3 screws that hold the top cover down from the front of the library. Once all of the screws for the top cover have been removed, you want to go ahead and pull the top cover directly off the library. Now please note, depending on the actual model of the library, the total number of screws on the front and the back will vary. Some of them on the larger units may have 4 screws, on the smaller units there may only be 2. Once all those screws have been removed, you just want to carefully lift the top cover straight off the library. Once the top cover has been removed, you will see that the handler power supply sits underneath the top cover. The handler power supply is located underneath these 2 cables and below this wire mesh. So you want to go ahead and remove the 4 screws that hold the screen down in place. Once you remove the 4 screws that keeps the screen mesh down, you can go ahead and slide the mesh off the power supply. When you look inside the power supply, you'll see that there's 2 connections between the library to the power supply. You want to go ahead and disconnect the cables. Now please note, there are different handler power supplies that can be installed in a TLS library. So depending on the power supply that you have, the connectors may be a little bit different. But there are always 2 connectors. You just have to remove those 2 cables. Once the cables are disconnected, you want to go ahead and remove the 4 screws that keep the power supply attached to the library. Once the last screw is removed, you can go ahead and lift the power supply out of the library and just carefully slide the power supply and remove it from the library. To install a handler power supply back into the library, you want to get your power supply. You want to find the 2 cords that are going to be used to connect to the power supply. You want to have those kind of out of the way here. You want to take your power supply, slide it underneath these 2 cables here. And then sit it into the library. You want to go ahead and find the screw holes and align the power supply as they should be and start reapplying the 4 screws. After tightening the 4th screw, you want to go ahead and reconnect the cables from the library to the power supply. You want to make sure that the cables for the power supply go underneath these 2 cables. Once the cables have been connected to the power supply, you want to go ahead and slide your screen, protective screen, back over the power supply. Align that and reapply the 4 screws. Once you've added or screwed down the 4th and final screw to put the protective mesh cover over the power supply, all you have to do now is reapply the top cover back onto the library and tighten the top cover down with the screws, and then you are done. You've completed the replacement of the handler power supply.